We really need to talk about what's happening right now, because the Middle East is, for all intents and purposes, on fire, and the consequences of this are already starting to ripple out across the globe. So let's get right into it, because what started as just distant rumbles has exploded into an all-out crisis.
I've covered a lot of conflicts in these explainers, but this one's different. It never felt this personal before. This time, it wasn't just another headline on a screen. For me and for my family, this was happening literally right outside our hotel window.
Just yesterday morning, I was in Dubai. We were staying in a hotel right across the street from the Fairmont on Palm Island. Yeah, the same hotel where one of the explosions was seen. We were incredibly lucky. We had a really early flight and we managed to take off while things still seemed totally normal.
But just a few hours later, we found out what was really going on. Absolute chaos had erupted in Dubai. The very airport we just left was evacuated, with smoke apparently filling the terminals. All flights canceled. Drones were being shot down over the Burj Khalifa. There were reports of missile debris hitting the famous Burj Al Arab Hotel. And some of my family? They had a later flight. They got trapped. They're still stuck there. And honestly, we have no idea when they'll be able to get out.
So, what on earth caused all of this? Well, we're now finding out that this was just the beginning, the opening shot of a massive, coordinated military operation that has just thrown the entire region into war. Here's the headline. The United States and Israel have launched a full-scale military attack on Iran. And I want to be clear, this is not some small, limited strike. This is a massive operation that is fundamentally changing the entire game in the Middle East, and the consequences, they could be absolutely devastating. The name of the operation is Epic Fury, and its goal, according to one U.S. official, is brutally simple. They said, quote, "We are going to destroy their missile industry to the ground." This isn't a quick one-and-done thing. It's a multi-day campaign, and bombs are already falling on cities all across Iran as we speak. But the single most shocking piece of news, the one that truly changes everything, is this. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has been killed. And look, this isn't just a rumor. This is confirmed. Iranian state TV itself has announced his death. He was killed in his office, and reports say his daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter were killed with him. At the same time, in a coordinated strike, many of Iran's top military commanders were also taken out. This is what's known as a decapitation strike. It's a strategy designed to eliminate the entire leadership of a country in one single blow. And Iran's response? It's been swift, and it's been furious. This is no longer just a conflict between three countries. No, this is spreading across the region like wildfire. Iran has launched its own counterattack. They're calling it Operation True Promise 4, and their missiles aren't just aimed at Israel. They're targeting key U.S. allies and military bases all across the region. We're talking the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait. The whole area is a war zone.
The sheer scale of this retaliation is just massive. Iran's IRGC is claiming that they've already attacked 27 different American military bases. We're talking about huge installations like the Al Udeid Air Base in Doha, and even the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, which they say took a direct hit.
And these attacks are not just hitting military targets. As we saw firsthand in Dubai, civilian areas are being hit. Five-star hotels, international airports, these are places where millions of ordinary people are now caught directly in the line of fire. Now, you might be watching this from thousands of miles away, thinking, okay, this is bad, but it's over there. But the truth is, the shockwaves from this are already hitting home. Let's talk about why this war matters to absolutely everyone, but especially to over 1 billion people in India. First, you've got over 10 million Indians who live and work in the Gulf countries. Let that sink in. 10 million. In the very cities where missiles are falling right now, there are millions of Indian workers, friends, and family members. So this isn't some abstract foreign policy problem. It's a massive humanitarian crisis waiting to happen, and it puts incredible pressure on India to try and keep its citizens safe. And then there's the economy. You see, India gets more than half of all its crude oil through the Strait of Hormuz. That's the narrow channel of water that Iran basically controls. It's often called the jugular vein of the world's oil supply, and right now it's at the center of a war. For India's economy, this is what experts are calling the nightmare scenario. There are already reports that Iran has declared its intention to close the strait. If that actually happens, the chain reaction is immediate, and it's devastating. India's oil supply gets choked off, the cost of fuel and shipping goes through the roof, and the result is crippling inflation that will hit every single one of us. In the middle of all this chaos, Israel's official government account tweeted, "Israel has the right to defend itself." But at the very same time that message was going out, reports started to emerge from the Iranian city of Manab. A girls' primary school had been bombed. It's estimated that at least 100 children were killed. The human cost of this is already just staggering.
So, the big question is, how? How did we get here? How did we go from these simmering tensions to a full-blown regional war that could engulf the entire Middle East? Well, the timeline is pretty shocking when you lay it out.
The fuse was really lit back in late 2025, when Iran's economy collapsed and huge protests were brutally crushed. Then, early this year, the US started a huge military buildup in the region. But here's the craziest part. Just one day before the attack began, an Omani minister said that a peace deal was within reach. So how do you go from peace is within reach to a rain of bombs overnight? It just doesn't add up.
Well, according to reporting from the Washington Post, this was anything but a sudden decision. This attack was actually planned for months, and allegedly there was heavy lobbying from both Saudi Arabia and Israel, pushing the US to finally take action. And all of this leads us to the most important question of all. What is the end game here? What is this all supposed to achieve? And what's the real outcome going to be for the people on the ground?
Well, the goal of regime change couldn't be more explicit. A message was sent from Donald Trump directly to the Iranian people saying, quote, "When we are finished, take over your government." So the stated goal is to liberate the Iranian people from their dictator.
But doesn't that script sound a little familiar? I mean, we were told the exact same thing about removing Saddam Hussein in Iraq and about Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. And in both of those cases, what came next wasn't some stable democracy. It was years of chaos, brutal civil war, and the rise of new terror groups that made life even worse for the average person. And so now the entire world is holding its breath, asking this one terrifying question. Will this time be different? Will this intervention actually bring the freedom that's been promised? Or are we just watching the beginning of an even greater chaos, one that could consume